you're on about when the closed hounds kill. How true this is, I don't know, but somebody told me, he says, you got all the people from other steelworks coming in to see what they could plot, take out and take back to theirs. With that, there was a Yankee contingent came over from Bethlehem plant in Philadelphia, and they walked into the billet mill and they were amazed. Said, this is a modern mill. We've got nothing like this in our steelworks in the middle of America. You think, oh, America, all modern? No. He says they transferred the plates from one bank. They ran it and picked it up with forklift and took it across to the next lane and set it way up that way. He says that's how far back we were. So they didn't have transfer banks.
We developed an ultrasonic testing machine, automatic, and I mean from nothing. My boss, and we put it in the plate mill, and it was a fantastic machine. I mean, it sprayed where every defect was, and it told you where to cut the defects out and everything. The minute concert was announced, the plate mill was closing, Hartlepool 40-inch mill or something was up like, you know, the ink wasn't dry on the contract, and they were up. And we had and I actually went with the wagon with the plate testers on the back to show them how to put it together in Hartlepool. And this is when the main works was still open. But we went down and installed it and gave them training in one of the pipe mills in Hartlepool, which is probably not there any longer. But this was developed from nothing. We invented it. But it went, and we were quite happy to take it to Hartlepool. We were so proud of it. Oh, we'll show you how it works. And we took it and put it in the Hartlepool plate mill, pipe mill.
Which is still going.
It's still going, that pipe mill, is it? But it's like Tesla probably still working.
Paddy's got with him a copy of the Observer, circa 1981.
September 1980, actually. 3 days before the 7th of September. Closed on the 10th, didn't it? So, aye. That was the, you know, like looking up Roger Street just over the back there, straight up to the old church, you know. See how the bloody plant looms over it like it was, you know.
So the headline says,
when the smoke stops, the town dies.
Yeah.
And a bit like you were on last week, like they went round all the, you know, waited for a rainy day and went round all the grim and got every nugget they could find to talk to them about what the plant was on about.
Can you just kind of describe the kind of article and the kind of tone that they took? Because I recognise it from the kind of Sunday Times things that people did in Jarrow. There was once when there's a photograph in the Sunday Times and it said Jarrow hasn't changed, and it had a bit of cobble and it had a gas lamp, and it was a rainy night. And the guy, the photographer, must have lain on the ground to have the cobble in the foreground. So they had the cobble in this ornamental lamp on a rainy night. I eventually found the cobble was a little wee bit outside a pub called the Ben Lomond, and the light was an ornamental lamp outside the pub. You know, he wrote the story on the train from King's Cross to Newcastle, and he was looking for an image that would suit that. And it's the same thing. You know, I mean, I think that's one thing that strikes me about what people have said as well. And the march and the Mandela, there was that kind of feeling, Jarrow and concert. You know, yeah, it was.
How sad are you going to be to keep the
film going? And he's now got his steward badge from the march down to London.
It was high class production output. This quality stuff.
There's a lot of money being spent on that.
You have to buy your own, Paddy.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Saying you're on about before about the cobbles and the likes of that, it sounds like the cover of a Catherine Cookson book.
Exactly.
You know, I'm thinking, how far back are you trying to go here? Like, you know.
So, do you, what I was going to say, would you kind of summarise some of the thing in the Observer there, because obviously it's.
To be honest, I haven't read it for probably a decade.
Oh, right.
You know, probably
the general feeling.
I'll get it out and read it again. You know, I did when I first went to the NHS. Yeah, a few of us got picked to go on stage and address the people, and I did like like the steelworks and all that. Like, I got it out then and read it as preparation for that. Like, but I haven't done it since. Like, so.
But the general
feeling. The general feel was, you know, it was dead. It was you know, as the title says, you know, when the smoke stops, the town dies. And the thought that everybody would just float away, all the young people and all that. We talked last week, didn't we, about those who went away to work, those of us who went back into education to re-educate ourselves, and those who were still on the dole, unfortunately, who, you know, anybody who didn't have a...
And people, there's people around this table now, if we had a table here, who would have gone, one self-employed, and yourself who went on to, and John who went on to university, and other people who, you know, What did you do, Frank? Did you?
I just started travelling.
Yeah.
And that was it. I had about 6 months around concert, I think, doing bits and pieces of jobs, and done a training course in cobbling, which I think I got 80% of my wages or something for.
Yeah, that's good.
And
John Nash did that as well.
yeah,
remember?
John Nash did. I
John
went to the
Nash
same,
did
same
that.
fella
Oh,
as
he had a
John
cover
Nash, yeah.
shop, aye.
Well, he opened up
And from there I got a job back in refractories, bricklaying again, at Anglo Great Lakes in Newburn at first, in and out of there for a few months, and then I got a phone call to go to the lime kilns at Chapel off a refractory company from Flint in North Wales, BJ Construction, and that was me travelling for the last 30 odd years.
That's what you've done.
That's what I've done, yeah.
Yeah. So where was that travelling entailed?
I've just recently, last year, I had a trip to Taiwan. We built a brand new steel plant there. I've had 2 trips to Argentina, and I've just last week came back from Port Talbot. Had 5 months down there on the new blast furnace. Well, it's a new furnace I've rebuilt, not a reline.
So after
big
6
new
months,
furnace.
did you leave concert? Did you know?
Well, as my family and everything still here, I always came back here. You know, I'd be away for 2 or 3 months on a job and come back for a few weeks and away again. With my wife and kids and everything. So I never moved away from here.
And this bricking you did, it was all involving the steelworks.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
steelworks,
All
nothing
steel,
else.
blast furnaces, steel plants, ladles, torpedoes. But most of it, sorry, the company that I must have worked for about 15 different refractory companies. You started building glass tanks, lime kilns, and foundries, cupolas, anything and everything to do with refractories I got into.